Hi, in this video, I'll be showing you through the entire tools in Adobe Illustrator. It is very, very important to understand these tools because these are the things that make you proficient in the use of Adobe Illustrator. So yeah, let's just jump right in. The very first tool that will be defaultly selected when you enter Adobe Illustrator is the selection tool. This tool is basically used to select and move objects around. For example, you can select this picture and move it around. You can also use the selection tool to scale objects by holding Shift and Alt. You can scale the object without deforming any of the parts, though without deforming the width or the height. But yeah, that's all about the selection tool. The next is the direct selection tool. The direct selection tool is used to select anchor points of objects. For instance, this object, and many objects created within Adobe Illustrator. So for this, in this case, I'm going to be selecting this and just, to manipulate it. You will just be able to manipulate just that point, just that anchor point, because you are using the direct selection tool. And under the direct selection tool, we also have the group selection tool. The group selection tool helps you to select group of anchor points that are linked together. So I can select this, I can select this, I can select this. Holding my Shift, I can select this, and all the points on those objects will be selected together just at once. So the next is the Magic Wand tool. The Magic Wand tool helps to select objects with similar visual attributes. For example, we have a lot of patterns right here. We have a lot of shapes, but we want to select a particular type of shape or a particular type of color without having to go through them one after the other. All you need to do is to select your Magic Wand tool and select, and then it selects for you the objects that have similar colors, like so, right? And then if I want to, go with this, I can also select this, and then I have objects of similar colors. Then I can select this one and probably this one, and deselect. And then we have objects that have similar colors selected. So if you notice that your Magic Wand is selecting other objects of other colors, all you need to do is to double click on the tool, and then you would have this panel pop-outs to help you set the tolerance and any other filter that you need to make your selection as accurate as possible. For example, stroke weight, the stroke color, the opacity, the blending mode. Probably I can reduce my tolerance to about 11, and then let's try it again. And then there we have it. So the reduced tolerance gives you the ability to be able to select precisely what you want. If I'm going to increase the tolerance, like let's put it down to 168, and I select my tool, then it picks every blue on the screen. So the less the tolerance, the more accurate it is. So I can even make it 0 tolerance, like so, and there you have it. So that is the Magic Wand tool. Then we also have the lasso tool. The lasso tool allows you to select objects by drawing around the objects using the freehand method. So I can try to select around these eyes and say, okay, I don't want that eyes, and bam. And then that is selected, and I can, throw this one out of place. Or I can come over here to say I want this group and this group selected. And then we have only that selected, and we can pull it out to make any change we want in our designs. So the next is the pen tool. The pen tool is a very, very simple yet complex tool to use in any design software. So the pen tool is used to draw accurate paths. Let me just quickly drop a quick tip. If you notice any little arrow under your tool, it means that that particular tool has other tools embedded under, like other options. For example, your direct selection tool has 2, and then your pen tool has 4. Your text tool has about 5 to 6, even not 7, and so on and so forth. So our pen tool, we can use our pen tool again, like I said, to draw paths that are accurate. And if you don't know how to use the pen tool, you may need to actually learn and understand how the pen tool works. But just know that the pen tool is a very, very accurate tool, and you can use it to make your illustrations and any other thing that you need to be prim and perfect. Then the next under the pen tool is the anchor point tool. The anchor point tool is used to add anchor points to your already drawn parts, like so. So I can add like this, and then we have, if I'm selecting my direct selection tool, right, I'll be able to select my new anchor point and manipulate anywhere and anyhow I want. And then we also have the delete anchor point tool. It's just the opposite of the add anchor point tool. It deletes anchor points. And then, of course, we also have the anchor point tool. This anchor point tool helps you to either make an anchor point curve or turn it into a sharp angle, just like you have here. So if I click this, I'm going to have a very sharp angled anchor point right here. And then, yes, you can come here to switch to any other special tools that you need for the pen tool. Next is the curvature tool. The curvature tool is majorly used to draw curved lines and even to edit curved lines. It is, to a very large extent, simpler than the pen tool, the use of it. So I can decide to draw a circle using this curvature tool, like so. Click, click, and click, and click, and click. And then I have something close to a circle like that. And then we have, and yes, remember, you can still come back to your direct selection tool, which the shortcut is A, to select your anchor points and manipulate anyhow you want them to be manipulated. And then remember, you can also use the anchor point tool to convert your anchor point to sharp-edged anchor points, like so. So you can work between the tools the way you want them. The next tool is the text tool or the type tool. This, as the name implies, is used to create text and type. So I can click here and type astronaut, and then use my selection tool to scale it up. And then you can come here to change your typeface. If you missed the last video that talks about fonts and typefaces, I think you should check it out. It speaks to typefaces, types, and fonts. All right. You can also decide to make your text an area type tool by selecting your text and clicking and dragging over a certain area. And then you have text filled like so within your design. And then you have text filled inside the area like so. The next is the area type tool. This area type tool is similar to this area type tool, only just that it types within an already created object. So for example, I have to select the object in which I want the text to be embedded within, and then I just click, and then the text is in within the object like so. Let me just undo that. We also have the path type tool. The path type tool, as the name implies, allows you to type on a path. So if I have my path like this guy right here, this is a path right here, drawn by my brush tool some moments back, I can decide to put my text on that by selecting the path, coming to my path text tool and clicking on it and increasing the size for that. It's just as simple as that. Then the next is the vertical type tool. The vertical type tool, as the name implies, allows you to type vertically, like so. So it's like vertical. So it allows you to type vertically, like so. And just make this the same. So we have vertical astronaut. Let me just do this. And the next is vertical area type tool. This is a combination of the area type tool and the vertical type tool. But just that this tool allows you to type within a selected object vertically. So if I'm going to select this and select the tool, I'll be able to type in here vertically. So we have the vertical type right there. And then the next is the vertical type on path tool. This also is similar to the type and path tool, only just that you'll be able to type vertically on a selected path. So if I select this path, like so, and come here, I'll click on this, I'll be able to type vertically on that path. like so. So we have that like that. Just put it here. And then you can also work on the path by going back to your direct selection tool and manipulating the path anyhow you want it.
Yeah.
And then the last but not the least is the touch type tool. The touch type tool allows you to edit individual letters in a type without actually scattering the editability. So if I want to edit this vertical, I can select it and probably give this a rotate, and then probably give this a rotate, and then move it up like so. So I still have my A where it is, and probably move this guy up. Okay, just do this guy like so. And then probably the L, turn it like that, move it up. And yes, so we have, that's all basically about the text tool. The next is the drawing tools right here. So we have the line tool, as the name implies, used to draw lines like so. I can improve your stroke, and then you can also duplicate your lines if you want. And duplicate your lines, and duplicate like that. And then can pick up my lines, reduce the stroke width, rather just give it this stroke width, and group it and send to the back. So we have those. We also have, under this, we have the arc tool, the spiral tool, the rectangular grid, and the polar grid. As their name implies, you use these tools to draw arcs, spirals, rectangular grid, and polar grid. I don't have to go through everything, just for you to get the entire idea of these tools. So the next is the drawing tools that we have here. And under these drawing tools, we have the rectangle tool, the rounded rectangle tool, the ellipse tool, polygon tool, the star tool, and the flare tool. So I can pick that and draw a rectangle right here, probably fill it with this color, or I prefer this color, and then send to back, like so. And then other tools too can be used. But one thing to know about the object tools is that you can also manipulate their corners by either chamfering them or making them rounded. For example, say this little guy right here. You can click and drag in, and then you have a capsule, and then click and drag out to a certain extent to have a rounded rectangle. And then you can come here to this option to change the type of rounding. Probably you want this inverted rounding, or probably this chamfered rounding, like so. So anything you want, you can select right here. That is a quick tip about the tools objects. So you can have that right there. So if you select the drop down, everything is applicable to these objects right here. So another quick tip is if you select your star tool, if you want to create a star that has more points, all you just need to do is to tap on the screen, and then you have the number of points. Probably I want this to be like 20. I can click OK, and then I have a 20-point star tool. And remember what I said, I can also click Control and drag to any extent to which I want the star to be rounded. So I can put it behind my astronaut right there. All right, the next is the paintbrush. So the paintbrush is very similar to the pen tool, but this time the paintbrush allows you to add stroke, type, size, or style to your drawn parts from the onset. So go to my brushes panel and change the stroke type, and then I can draw my stroke around my guy like so. So I can do that. So here, probably do this. Just as you see in this quick video, you see that the brush tool was used to draw the outline around the astronaut like so. So it is a very, very quick and easy tool to draw your outlines, especially when you have a drawing tablet. And yes, you can also change the settings of your brush by double-clicking on the brush tool. So you can change the fidelity, you can change the width, you can either make fidelity accurate or smooth. So most times, it's very, very good to find yourself close to accurate if you want something more natural. So I'll just put my settings to the second level right here instead of going all the way smooth, because once it's very, very smooth, it gives you this very, very unnatural feel and effect. Well, that's what I feel personally. So the next is the blob brush. The blob brush is generally used for painting. If you check the speed video, you would notice that the blob brush, immediately I paint, it turns to an object. So the blob brush allows you to draw parts, but as you draw the parts are changed to objects. So let me just explain. So once I use my blob brush to draw a path like so, right, and then I select my path, it turns to an object that has a lot of anchor points. Unlike the brush tool that still keeps your stroke as is. So here is my brush tool stroke, and here is my blob brush stroke. But majorly your blob brush is used to apply colors to your objects. If you check well from the last speed video, you'll notice that I created a new layer and then put the layer under the outline layer so that immediately I draw with my blob brush, the painting goes under the outline. It is very, very important to know this. Then the next is the shaper tool. The shaper tool helps you to draw shapes, merge them together, and even form new shapes just using your free hand. So let me just extend my artboard here. So to use my shaper tool. So if I'm going to pick my shaper tool, this, and I draw this oval, it's going to give me a very smooth oval. And then probably I draw this. I just draw over like I'm drawing a zigzag line, and then it stitches everything together. So your shaper tool helps you to draw shapes accurately. Like that, and then you can also merge them together. But most times I hardly go to the shaper tool because I can also use my pathfinder to actually merge my shapes together. The pathfinder is on your panels window, and the pathfinder is a very, very important panel to also know about. Don't worry, when we get to the panels video, you would understand everything about panels. The next under the shape builder tool, we have the pencil tool, the smooth tool, the eraser tool, and the join tool, just as their name implies. The pencil tool is also similar to the brush tool in that it allows you to draw your parts and edit your parts, like so. So you can add, you can subtract, and then you can also add your stroke to your already drawn path, like that. And then we also have the smooth tool. The smooth tool, as the name implies, allows you to smoothen your path. So your path must be selected, and then you select your smooth tool, and then you begin to smoothen by drawing over your anchor points like so, and then you get smooth edges. So let me intentionally draw a very, very wobbly line like that. Reduce the fidelity, click OK, and draw a wobbly line like that. And then we have a very wobbly line. And come back to your smooth tool to smoothen out what you want to get smoothened out. And then your smooth tool begins to smoothen out. And then just begin to draw over each anchor point in order to get that smoothness that you want. So the lesser the anchor point, the smoother it becomes. So that is all about the smooth tool. And then we also have the path eraser tool. The path eraser tool allows you to edit anchor points and delete it. Just delete a path. So the distance between two anchor points is a path. So I can't just use my path eraser tool to just, rub over anchor points like so. It has to be drawn from one point to the other in order to delete that path. The next is the scissors tool. The scissors tool is used to slice objects into parts. So for example, let me just pick one of these guys, probably this beautiful circle here. Expand and, expand, pick my scissors tool, click on this, and also click on this, like so. And then you can have two halves well divided by the scissors tool. Then the next tool is the knife tool. The knife tool is also similar to the scissors tool right? You can use it, but in that, you just need to draw over the selected object. So I can select both of them, pick my knife tool, and cut in any direction I want. I can cut like so. And then can click and drag over the top half. Select this, one cut. Select this, one cut. So that's what the knife tool does. Then the next is the eraser tool. The eraser tool can be used to clean off parts and even fields of an object. So I can begin to do this to my selected object, like so. So let me just select this and this and this. And then pick my eraser tool and then begin to do this over the eraser tool. Make sure you get to the end of the point, like so. And then you can also, after erasing, pick each member and separate like so. So that's what the eraser tool does. The cutting tools in that regard, that's what they do. And then the next is the mirror or the reflect tool. The next is the reflect tool. Helps you to flip an object vertically or horizontally. So I can pick this and tell it to mirror for me. And then I can just mirror along this axis and do this. So it's flipping it horizontally and vertically. So that's what the mirror tool does. And then we also have the rotate tool. The rotate tool also is similar to the mirror tool. You make your anchor point, you select your locus or your center of concentration, and then the rotate tool begins to rotate around that anchor point that you selected. That is what the rotate tool is used for. Remember, I already flipped this guy, so I already reflected him, right? So I can reflect him back. So I come back to my reflect tool, select this point, and then I want him to be reflected back. Like so, yeah. So, and then we can also rotate him. And then pull him back to where he's supposed to be. That's that about reflect and rotate tool. And then we also have the scale tool. The scale tool helps to resize objects around a fixed point. So if I pick my scale tool, and probably this is where I need, so I can actually scale my object like this, or like that, or anywhere I want it. I can also use your shift to hold your objects in place. But most times, if you want to scale your object, what I do most times is just use my selection tool, holding my shift and alt, and clicking and dragging to expand, and clicking and dragging to scale my object up, like so. Then the next is the share tool and the reshape tool. The share tool, as the name implies, scales an object to a certain angle. So if I select this guy, if I select this guy and I decide to share, right, and then I can do this just to a certain angle. So that is what the share tool does. And then we have the reshape tool. The reshape tool generally helps you to restructure general shape of your paths, right? So if I have this path selected, and then I can go to my reshape tool, and then begin to reshape my object like so. So I can reshape. So I can also select a group of anchor points to reshape. I can select this guy and reshape from here, right? So the reshape tool is quite handy, and it helps you to, again, reshaping your parts in general. So the next is the width tool, So the width tool helps you to vary the thickness and the thinness of your path in Illustrator. So let me just select that and then come here and just increase this. And then we have this variation in thinness. And then we can do this too. I'll work with this. Oh, that to be 2. How much? I'll work with this. And then you can double click also on any anchor point to be able to have the width point setting, to be able to set your width to what you want. So that's being said. And then the next under the weight, we have these beautiful edit tools that help you to manipulate and restructure your objects in any way you want. We have the warp tool, the twirl tool, the pucker tool, the note tool, the scallop, the crystallize tool, and the wrinkle tool. So I'm just going to be picking the twirl tool, for example. But before I do that, I make sure that I have my ghost selected, this ghost guy right here. And then I go back to my twirl tool and just click and hold. And then you have twirls all around. The longer you hold, the more the twirls in that regard. So, and then we can also have, can decide to, crystallize, and then click on the anchor point and, crystallize it like so. But just take note that the longer you hold, the more the points and the more render power it takes from your RAM. So you have to be careful with those tools. The next is the free transform tool. The free transform tool allows you to transform your objects freely. It works majorly on objects and not pictures, right? So the very first one here in this little pop-out box that pops out immediately you select the transform tool is the constraint option. So it allows you to constrain the size of your object as you scale up and scale down. Then we also have the free transform. So if I'm going to select this and go back to my free transform, with this selected, that means I can just scale up and down without skewing my object in that regard. If I kill this, then my object has no bounding box when it comes to. Then my object has no boundary when it comes to scaling. It won't be constrained. Then we also have the perspective distort. This allows you to distort your object according to perspective. And then we also have the free distort that allows you to freely distort your object any way you want it according to perspective and any way you want it. You can also make the constraint available so that you keep the size of your object without deforming it too much. So that's that about the free transform tool. Next is the puppet warp tool. The puppet warp tool is used to deform a mesh in very, very interesting ways. So one way to do that is to making sure that your object is selected and then go to the puppet warp tool and you see this mesh formation all over your object. All you just need to do is to click to add control points and then you can control like so. You can control your mesh as if it were a textile material. And yes, it doesn't actually create any anchor point on your objects. And you can also delete this control point by just clicking delete when you select the control points, like so and like so. It's a very, very simple tool that helps you manipulate your object anyhow and any way you want them manipulated. Then next we have the shape builder tool. The shape builder tool allows you to create a new shape from intersection of two or more shapes or objects. Let me just delete this. I just have something new to be drawn there. So probably I have an ellipse here, and then another little ellipse here, and then probably a little one here, and probably a massive one here. So what the shape builder tool does is allows me to connect all these tools together, all these shapes together rather. But before we do that, we need to select every one of them. So having selected them, then we'll go to our shape builder tool and you click and drag over everything, making sure that they have this red outline around them. And then voila, you have a shape built from the intersection of different shapes. You can also use your Alt key by clicking Alt to remove parts that you don't want, intersections and parts you don't want. And then you have something of this nature. You just click and then you have something of this nature. So that's about your shape builder tool. Helps you to build new shapes and objects out of intersections of different shapes and objects. Then under the options, we have the live paint bucket and the live paint selection. Let me start from the live paint selection. The live paint selection tool allows you to select colored objects that are formed from the live paint bucket when you apply the color. So here's what I mean. So from my live paint bucket, I can actually drop a color in here. Let me first change this color to something different, like a pink, and then I can drop it here, right? I can drop it here. I can drop it anywhere my mouse is hovering over to have that. I can have another color, probably a green, this way. I can put it here, I can put it here, and probably here. and then I can have probably an orange, something, put it here and here and here. So this is what the live paint bucket does. And then the live paint selection tool allows you to select these colors as different entities. So I can select this and then work on it. So what the live paint selection tool does is to help you select these different colors like so, as the name implies, and then you'll be able to work on them. Then moving back to the live paint bucket, can select, okay, so I can go back to my tool. That's my selection tool. I can go back to my selection tool, and then I can double click and then separate them as still single entities. But you notice that the live paint has been broken. So make sure that you don't push your objects apart if you don't want your live paint selection to be broken. So I can just go to object and expand, and then click OK to have them as an object. And then once I double click in, I'll be able to separate them like so as different objects. So that's one thing to keep in mind. So the next is the perspective tool. The perspective tool is a very, very powerful tool that helps you draw perspective. In general, the perspective tool helps you to create objects according to perspective, right? So if you understand perspective, 1 point perspective, 2 points perspective, and 3 point perspective. So let me just click and drag, and let's drag it out. It's here. Where's my handle? I'm looking for the handle. Okay. So let me just drag it out here. And then here we have it. So we have the first perspective here. We have the second point and we have the third point. So if I'm going to draw according to So we have this 3 point perspective, point 1, point 2, and of course, point 3, right? So if I want to draw a building, for example, I select the side from this little guy here. So this blue means I'll be drawing on this blue side. So if I pick my rectangle and draw, it follows through like so. And then if I want to draw on this right side, all I need to do is just come here and select to change. And then it draws on the orange side like so. And then if I want to draw under, that's on the ground floor. All I need to do is to do that too, and then draw on my ground floor like so. All right. And then the next thing is you can now begin to recolor your work. You can decide to make this darker and decide to make that normal. And then maybe I'm done with my perspective tool. If I'm done with my perspective tool, I can just close the perspective tool like so by selecting the perspective tool and closing it like so. And then you have something that looks like this. So let me delete this guy. So you have something that looks like this. This is just the basic thing for you to know about the perspective tool. There are numerous things that you can use the perspective tool for. Then under the perspective tool, we have the perspective selection tool. This allows you to select, objects that are on the perspective grid. So if I select this, I'll be able to select this object. I'll work with it, probably reduce the scale, increase the height, and do all sorts of things that I need to do, right? So if you're going to use the selection tool, you won't get the effect the perspective selection tool gives you. So you must select the perspective selection tool in order to work in perspective mode, like so. So I will just close that and also delete this. Okay, let me just leave it right here. All right, that's so. So the next is our mesh. Our mesh, this guy right here. So the mesh enables you to add different shades of colors to your shape or to your object. In general, the mesh tool is used to apply different shades of color onto an object to give it a feel of depth, like a 3D feel. So if I have this, open my ellipse, and then I can pick my mesh tool and then add here and add here and add here. So I can select this guy right here and change color to something like so. I can have come here and change the color to maybe something like this. And then here, the same thing here. And then probably here, I can put it up like so. So we have something that looks like a 3D ball in that sense. So let me just, so I can also edit my mesh. I come into my direct selection and then select the anchor point and move it below. Just keep moving it to have that, very good blend of my perspective, like so. So we have that solid metallic ball inside of Adobe Illustrator. It's very, very important to know that you can create almost anything in your Adobe Illustrator. So I can push this right here. I'll make this go down. Probably is a world. Pull. Just do this. So the next is my gradient tool. So the gradient tool allows you to add blends between colors on an object. For example, as the name implies, again, it's a gradient tool. So I can select this, draw my rectangle, and pick my gradient tool. I just click and drag over. But before I do that, I need to come back to my gradient tool, right? Select my object, and probably give it a gradient right here. And then I can also come here to work on the direction of my gradient. I can double click to change the color. Let me change it to an RGB. And let me just pick this color. I can probably pick this color. And then the white part of it, I can pick this color. And then work on my gradient like so. And then we have different type of gradient. We have the radial gradient. And then you can also flip your gradients from blue to blue, from dark blue to light blue, or from light blue to dark blue. By clicking this button, you can reverse it. Then you can also use a freeform gradient that allows you to add more gradient points, whereby you can change colors of each of these gradient points. Probably this color, I don't want it to be white. Probably I want it to be this. And then this, I want it to be maybe a green. And then this, okay, that color is nice. And then probably this, we can change it to, that's a mistake. And then probably this. And yeah, and there you have it. You have, a different color grading system, like so. So I can put this here, reduce it, and probably just put it this way. Yeah, so that's all about gradient. And then we have the eyedropper tool. The eyedropper tool allows you to pick colors. A very, very important thing about the eyedropper tool is this. What if I want to change this color to this? It's either I just come right here, select this, but once I click this, this changes back right here to the brown. So what I need to do is to just select this, pick my eyedropper tool and click, and then the color changes. So the eyedropper tool allows you to pick colors from one object to another and transfer the color verbatim. And then we also have the measure tool. The measure tool helps you to measure distance, right? From one object to the other or from one space to the other, basically. And then you're going to have the information here, right here. So I can decide to say, okay, I want to measure here to here. And then I get the measurement, right? I can decide to measure from maybe from this part of the screen to this part of the screen, holding my shift to constrain the straight line. And then I have that. So the measuring tool just allows you to measure objects, distance between objects, or anything, basically anything on your artboard, in your Illustrator. And then we have the blend tool. The blend tool, as the name implies, allows you to blend two or more shapes together. So say we have this shape, 1, and this shape, 2, and probably one more shape. Probably I should just have this. And then they have different colors. So I should give this color. And this, probably I should give it this color. And we can select three of them, or let's say the first two. So all you need to do is just click once. right? But let's double click to check our settings. So you see, we have different settings. It can be smooth color, specify steps, or specify distance. I can decide to choose anyone, but most times I choose either specify steps or specify distance. So let's do specify steps. I want about 50 steps, and I want it to be like so, and then click OK. So once I click in between, I have that. And then I can also select this and this, and go back to my blend and do the same thing. Select so. So something for you to notice, a quick tip is that the cursor and indicator for the blend tool needs to change to a black color. So as it is, it's a white colored box like you see. So once you hover over, you must make sure it changes to black before you click. That is when the blend will work, like so. So another trick is, if you want to get a different feel of this blend, we can actually select the blended object, go to Object, Blend, and then you can reverse spline, and then you see that the rectangle is now by the left and the star is now by the right. Well, let's flip that back. And then let's go back to Objects and go to Blend and click on Reverse Front to Back. And then we have the objects in front will move to the back and the object behind will move to the front. That's what the blend object does. But trust, the blend object is a very, very good object to use most times when you are designing things that are a bit complex or you want to just add some spice to your designs. Then next we have the symbol sprayer tool. This allows you to spray symbols. You have to create a symbol and then you spray it. So let me just do that. Click on that, come to your symbols panel and look for symbols. Probably I have this symbol. Maybe I want to spray a tile of this, diamond. And then I can begin to spray like so. Right? And spray this symbol all around. Then you can form patterns from them, and you can form anything. So that's basically what the spray symbol does. And you can also edit by using the symbol shifter, symbols cruncher, sizer, spinner, strainer, screener, styler tool. So if you want to edit any of your symbols, this is where you come. For example, if I come to the symbol shifter, it helps us shift our symbols in within their points. You can't just use your direct selection tool to shift symbols in that manner, right? Because it's a symbol. So you can also have this selected, come back to your symbol, and then probably you want to spin it. You can come to symbol spinner and it spins your symbols, right? Like so. You can also, decide to, stylize it. But when you decide to style it, you need to come to your styles and select a style that you want to use in your graphic styles. Probably I want to use this, and then I would come here to style my object. You may not see it now, but are you seeing that? So the graphic style replaced the initial design of the diamond. I can decide to pick this a style in anywhere I want, and then we have two styles inside your symbol. So your symbols can be used to create patterns for shirts, for clothes, for general textile in that regard. And then we also have the graph tool. The graph tool is basically used to draw graphs. That's your bars and column. That's the column graph tool. So if I select that, I have a table that pops out for me, and then you fill here with your data. And once your data is filled here, it replicates and it draws out the result of your data right here. So the next is we have the type of column graphs. We have the stacked, we have the bar chart, area graph, line chart, pie chart. Anyone you want to use, depending on the type of data you are collating, it is very important to know that you can actually use Illustrator for that and edit. But yes, you can have one or two plugins that would enable you to, have a well-defined and beautifully drawn graphs. But this is the building block to drawing graphs inside of Adobe Illustrator. And then we have the Artboard tool. This Artboard tool allows you to edit your artboard or add artboard. For example, this is an artboard. I can select this and, expand and contract my artboard. And the shortcut is Shift-O. So you can also create a new artboard right here, right? And that's what it does generally. It has extra settings here where you can, have options to rename the artboard, change the size, and every other option that is needed right here on the Artboard panel. Then we have the slice. The slice tool allows you to slice your designs according to, probably you want to print according to some slices, or you want to, send some chunk of work out. The slice tool allows you to, slice your artwork according to mostly printing. If you want to print something on a very large scale, the slice tool helps you to slice your artwork in an orderly manner, and also helps you to, export it according to numbering. Now we have the slice selection tool. So it helps you to select your already sliced part of your designs. That's what that tool does basically. And then we have the hand tool. This allows you to pan around your artboard or your entire Illustrator software. So that is so if you have something like this, it allows you to, pan in a zoomed in mode. That's what the hand tool does. And then we also have the rotate view tool. Allows you to generally rotate the view of your entire artboard or your entire workspace, right? So let me just return that back to 0. I don't want any rotation. And then we also have the printing tiling tool. So it also helps you to tile your artwork in order for you to print easily a large piece of work. And then we also have the zoom tool that allows you to zoom in and zoom out of your entire workspace. Then we have the color fill and stroke. This allows you to add color to your objects. For example, if you've been following through this video, you see that any object you select, the color appears here, and then you can double click, you change the color right here, and then the colors will be applied to the object. And then this is for stroke too, right? If you want to apply a stroke color to an object, you can apply the stroke color to an object like so, and then increase the stroke width, and then you see the effect right here. That's what that does. And you can also switch between these two colors. So if you click on this, your stroke color will become your fill color, and your fill color will become your stroke color. So let me select this and flick, and then you see that happens exactly right here. And then we have default mode. So if you want to go back to the default mode, it's just using this button right here. So probably I want to give this guy black and white. All I need to do is just click that, and then I'll just revert to black and white. And I can decide to say, you know what, I don't want any fill. If I click this, and you won't have any fill. So let me just give this the color it had, so that we would know when things change. Double click, and then we have that. So if I decide not to have a fill, that's an empty shape without a fill right there. And then I can also decide to say I want a gradient inside, and then a gradient will appear. And then here, you'll be able to edit your gradients color here. Probably this color. And decide to pick this color and this color. And work with this color and make this color. And then it changes right about there. And then we also have these 3 buttons here that determines how the drawn objects appear inside of Illustrator. So the first one is draw normal. That means any object you draw can either be in front or behind any object that has been drawn before. Then we have this draw behind. That means any new object you draw would always appear behind any previous object that you've drawn before the new object. And then we have draw inside. That means any new object you draw will be clipped inside the old object. So if I click this, and maybe I have this, I have this, I can draw another, right, probably a circle, and then it's clipped inside. So if I select both, and then I can also select this to draw this outside, and this, give it a different color, probably I'll give it a green. You see, it fell behind the object as it were. And then this is the direct opposite. I can draw this and probably give it my gradient, and then draw another, and then give it my green. And then you see that it's drawn in front. That is what these 3 buttons do. And then yes, of course, that it changes from full screen to normal screen to full screen menu bar or whatever. So you can use presentation mode, right? It shows, only your screen to present something else or to someone else or a group of people. Let's click escape. And then you can also use your full screen with menu bar or the full screen mode. So, and then we also have these three buttons that once you click it, it displays your entire tools at a goal inside your Adobe Illustrator. So these tools are very, very important to know and understand. Now that you understand the entire tools inside of Adobe Illustrator, let's head on to the next topic where you'll be learning how to use these tools in a project. And see you in the next video, and bye for now.